Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. That's Eduardo Sutchgalik. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for coming along. We're watching draft here. Guilds of Ravnica draft. We got a chance to watch Jérémy Dezani and Mark Jacobson draft. Right now, though, in the feature match area, we are going to be watching Jérémy Dezani. He, though, is playing against the other undefeated player at 8-0, Tay Jun Hao from Singapore, from Team Grey Ogre Games. Players are seated and ready. Let's head on down. It's time for the first round of draft here on day 2 at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eduardo Sutchgalik, and we are all set for day number 2. This is the first round of booster draft. We're going to be playing 3 before we transition over to standard. In the feature match area, boy oh boy, we've got Jérémy Dezani from France. He plays for Team Hareruya Sword, and he is a cool 8-0 overnight from yesterday. I did have a chance to chat with him, by the way. He's feeling much better. He actually ended up having to run here this morning and didn't have enough time to eat any food, so that's why he got a little dizzy actually during the draft portion. His opponent, Tay Jun Hao from Singapore, plays for Team Grey Ogre Games. Boom, 8-0 overnight as well, and we're going to end that streak for one of these players here. Let's talk about the matchup. Jérémy, kind of an unconventional take here. You know, I'm still reeling from his Pack 1 Pick 2 10th District Guard.
Is it this one?
There it is. That's the 10th District Guard, or maybe he's got
the
more.
2nd District Guard.
Indeed. But it looked like he really had a mind to go Boros right off the bat, and that is where he ended up, though we both noted throughout the course of the draft, Eduardo, that the table itself didn't have particularly strong cards open at it. In fact, kind of weak.
Yeah, and Jérémy, already this early exchange, right? 10th District Guard, Deadweight. And Jérémy with a Wojak Bodyguard into Rubble Belt board. You can see the power of Deadweight here. Deadweight isn't just stopping 2 damage from this 10th District Guard. It's stopping the Bodyguard from getting in for damage. It's stopping the Boar's ability for pumping, forcing Jérémy to essentially go, I have to play the Scout here. This Bodyguard isn't going to do anything yet, so has to play off Curd.
Now, what about for Tay? What about his deck and what he's trying to put together here? We know that Jérémy is playing this very straightforward Boros beatdown deck with basically a bunch of commons.
Yep.
On the other side of the table, what did Tay bring to the table? It looks like he's Golgari from the graphic there.
Yeah, there's a number of interaction cards on Tay's side. Might of the Masses and Undergrowth kind of signal a lot of creatures in the deck. But the spells are, 2 status statue, quite powerful in a situation like this. But the key card, maybe not this game, but in a future game, will be Ritual of Soot. Essentially, 4 mana to wipe anything that costs 3 converted mana cost or less. Extremely powerful, since after that, Tay would be able to take over the game easily.
Yeah, almost all the creatures that Jérémy's running fit the bill there, too. He does have a significant number of 4-mana creatures in the deck, but if Tay can manage his removal suite to take care of those, then he should be able to get the job done. Let's see if Jérémy has a removal spell here, and he does. It's the perfect one, too. Direct Current on the Hired Poisoner. And
that's 6 damage, and that Might of the Masses is pretty weak. I mean, Tay could decide here to fire off both Might of the Masses and Status.
And Status? Whoa.
That is a lot of cards just to make this 1/1 live. I mean...
Boy, but he's really thinking about it, because one of the things that we have seen here is that Tay has missed a land drop, and this is getting kind of interesting now. He might actually do this. No, he's going to let it go. He just can't live with the 3-for-1.
I can't live.
I couldn't do it either.
Yeah, it's kind of a 2-for-1, but the problem is that Direct Current would jumpstart. So it would prevent an attack from Jérémy, though, or enable a trade on the Skyline Scout. And then that was why Tay was considering it. While it would be 2 cards, it would prevent an attack here. So it would be converting those 2 cards for 6 life plus the Hired Poisoner. So it's a little more than just keeping the Hired Poisoner alive. But yeah, here probably we're going to see Spinal Centipede next turn.
Yeah, but that's also a fine target for a Direct Current, isn't it? Oh, this makes things even more interesting. He drew District Guide, and I assume will at least consider playing that. Though I have to say the Skyline Scout's ability to get flying makes the District Guide look not so great here.
Yeah, and if you look at Jérémy's hand, there's a Candlelight Vigil there. So Candlelight Vigil, or even the boar would probably be the pickup here on a Wojek Bodyguard. Allows the Skyline Scout to go up to free power. The free toughness as a 4 free attacker. So, I mean, Tay here is going to search that forest, keep up the status part of status statue, and essentially try, you know, you can trade the 2/2 off, but if things go wrong, you have access to this combat trick, essentially. And I think we're going to see it fired off because Tay is otherwise going to fall too far behind.
Right. So he'll accept a 2-for-1 to get rid of the Wojek Bodyguard here.
Yeah, it might be the Bodyguard. It might be the Scout.
Ooh, cancel that order right off the top of the library there for Dezani. He did find Luminous Bonds, though it's still tempting just to use the Direct Current here, right?
Yeah, I actually, with Jérémy's hand, I think the Direct Current is best left for later. Like, from Jérémy's perspective, remember, he doesn't know about, well, he does know about Tay's status statue and Might of the Masses. You know, they've shared deck lists. But, so running Direct Current into one of those isn't great. But here the boar, allowing essentially Jérémy to go, look, you can trade this guide plus the trick for one of these creatures, but, you know, I have to develop the board. This is what I have to do. So
right. No extra land there for Dezani, so he is not able to get that Scout in the air.
Yeah. I think this is okay, though. Like, the Scout is the larger creature now, but still, like, you get good value, right? Like, that's the power of the Boros archetypes. The Wojek Bodyguard is another card that has gone on a pick order for exactly this play pattern.
Right.
Mentor a 2-drop, and then if you ever pump up the Bodyguard, do it twice. That's a 2-mana 4 free flyer like this. And even Tay deciding here to trade for the Wojek Bodyguard.
Oh, he better have some other removal spell. He's going to use Might of the Masses rather than the status. So that means that he gets to keep statue in his hand, which he can then use to kill the Skyline Scout. So you can see his game plan starting to form, but that does leave a rather annoying 3/3 boar on the battlefield that's going to get in for multiple turns here potentially.
I think, actually, I was going to give the advantage to Jérémy, but I believe that Tay just drew a hired poisoner here.
Okay.
Which, yeah. So that's really good here.
He can play that and the Centipede?
Yeah, you can Spinal Centipede plus the 1/1, and then Jérémy can't really attack. So, I mean, can attack, pump the Skyline Scout, but then...
Right.
Wait, that's Ritual of Soot, but it doesn't kill the boar.
Of course. Yeah, this is a very tough position. He's going to have to use status statue here, and by that I mean statue, to kill one of these threats. But managing the board is interesting because he'd actually prefer to kill the boar so that Ritual of Soot could perhaps clean up the rest. But let's not forget about that Direct Current in the graveyard as well. So if this Skyline Scout hits, that's going to knock Tay down to 6 and effectively 4 if you count the Direct Current, and it doesn't leave much wiggle room there for Tay. So a tough spot to work through here for Tay Jun Hao.
Yeah, but Dezani does. This is the thing. Dezani doesn't really have creatures. In this spot, Dezani just wants more creatures. A pump effect is really. This isn't really the matchup for these pump effects. And
for the Gird for Battle and the Candlelight Vigil.
Yeah, Candlelight Vigil into statue is not a good pattern.
He's going to start off with Gird for Battle, but if I'm Tay, I'm like, that's kind of good for me.
Yeah. I mean, there might be another drop, but once Jérémy passes the turn without prailing a creature, yeah. And here you're going to see the statue on the board. Essentially, trying to play the Ritual of Soot next turn and nab any 2 or free drop in Jérémy's deck. But Jérémy with none will just we'll probably see Tay fire it off anyway.
He just kind of has to.
It's a 5/4.
It's lethal. Yeah, it's just a lethal attacker.
Yeah. Can get flying, yeah. So we're probably going to see Tay fire it off.
Ooh. He just drew another status statue, though.
Yeah, it's close, but I think the Ritual of Soot is best fired off here as kind of a sorcery speed removal, and you keep the status statue for later down the line.
Where it's more flexible.
Yeah. So I thought that was a hard poisoner earlier. They have a similar color pattern, but it was actually a Ritual of Soot.
Okay, yeah.
2 Luminous Bonds, exactly. Well, Tay hasn't really played many creatures, and Jérémy, and this is the problem with these decks. If your creatures get removed as a priority, then your Luminous Bonds aren't converting to damage, to use an example, right? And at that point, it's really hard to fight through. I mean, they're going to deal with threats like this, right? This Lurcher is going to be very easy to deal with. and just play a Bonds and move on. But you're not dealing pressure, so this is really going to be on Jérémy to drop. But with Tay having that extra removal spell in hand, plus I believe, Dezani having drawn a plate. I'm going to give the advantage to Tay here.
Yeah, it looks like Jérémy Dezani's just out of gas. It's that simple. He just ran out of threats, each of them having gotten killed. Now, they did their job. They got Tay down to 5, and remember, Direct Current in the graveyard, too. So Tay is at a fairly precarious life total, but right now, well, it's his world because there's just nothing going on for Jérémy Dezani, and he's going to see Charnel Troll plus Centipede here, and this is going to get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the Charnel Troll will easily get dealt with the Bonds, and then you can jumpstart the Direct Current if Jérémy draws another land here, at least, or something of low value like a. Then at that point, you're probably going to see both fired off. If Jérémy picks up a powerful card, it gets harder. But even then, this works kind of gets undone by the Hatchery Spider. That's going to be the last threat to stand, and it's going to be a problem. The 5/7 Reach Body plus getting another permanent is going to be, probably another creature. It's going to be really putting Tay ahead here.
Yeah, another thing to consider here, by the way, Eduardo, is, he does have a copy of Statue in his hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Statue. And Statue does kill enchantments, and that means that if Charnel Troll, for example, if that's a card that Tay Jun Hao wants to keep around, he can destroy the Luminous Bonds that we predict is going to hit the Charnel Troll.
It's a good point that it can hit an enchantment. It's definitely an important line. However, with the way this game has developed, I think Tay is better off keeping that card in hand for a potential flyer down the line.
Oh, because his life total's so low?
Right, exactly. And I think Tay is very far ahead. If Jérémy Luminous Bonds, say the Hatchery Spider, then that's a different question, right? Then a 5/7 body is so powerful that you would want to unlock it. So I think there's definitely a good point that you can destroy an enchantment, but with the life totals low, you're okay with this Charnel Troll going. Although it seems that Tay removing a creature indicates that he's going down your line.
Yeah, he might be. I mean, look, that Charnel Troll does get out of hand very, very quickly, and he could just slam the door on this game before Jérémy Dezani really has a chance to put any type of offense together. Though, it looks like no.
Yeah, just play the 5/7.
Boom. Hatchery Spider. And what is it, 1?
I see a District Guide.
It was 1.
And, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because he had to exile the other.
I see,
so.
yeah, the 1.
Yeah. So there is not a card he could hit there, right?
Yeah. That's the better way to...
Yeah.
To be fair, there's not tons of green creatures. It's really a 5/7 reach for 7. The biggest spiders. That's But yeah, here Jérémy drawing another land, and at this point, while Tay could keep the status statue for for a creature from Jérémy, keeping it for the troll was okay. The problem is the troll's going to grow once and then die since there's nothing else. But Jérémy is in a really difficult position now. We're probably going to see... Actually, I was going to say we're going to see Direct Current on Spinal Centipede, but that would be not the greatest line, since then Jérémy's facing down this Charnel Troll. But Jérémy doesn't know that a Charnel Troll will stick around, except that Tay specifically removed the creature for it in a deck with a lot of undergrowth. So Jérémy knows that if Tay has removed a counter... yeah. All right. Okay. So, yeah. Essentially, yeah. But the Charnel Troll seems like it's a mandatory effect now that we're reading it.
It is. It is
okay.
mandatory. You sacrifice it if you can't take a card out of your graveyard there. So.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, the Charnel Troll is mandatory and will eat its own graveyard. But, yeah, here, an attack for 5. With that extra Spinal Centipede, you could... I think this is fine. You just move on with this 5/7. And, yeah, there we go. There's the flyer. And with Candlelight Vigil, Jérémy would have been able to take the game down, but this status statue that was in Tay's hand is a big advantage. Yeah.
Boom. In comes the spider. Which basically locks him into using that removal spell on the flyer, right? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, that's why you have it. Now, Jérémy probably going to play Candlelight Vigil, try to go for lethal damage here. Actually, did Jérémy draw? No. Okay, so Gird for battle. Current for Battle is sufficient here since the... oh, wait. No, there's a direct current that's exiled.
Yeah, he's just going to move all in, but this is going to be a disaster here for Jérémy Dezani. There is Statue to take down the Parhelion Patrol, and that is a massive swing in Tay Jun Hao's direction. In fact, big enough to end the game on the spot. So that is game number 1 going to Tay Jun Hao. In his bid to stay undefeated, he's ran up against one of the stronger players in the field, Jérémy Dezani, already a Pro Tour champion, multiple GP champ, and no problem. Boy, I'll tell you what, missed a couple of those early drops on mana, had to really kind of craft a game plan around the admittedly lots of removal spells that he had in his hand, and Tay Jun Hao just methodically worked his way through that game, swung the direction back in his way, and boom, got the job done. So he is up 1-0. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, though, we'll have more live magic here from Atlanta. Don't you go anywhere.
Always know the right play to make? Show off your skills at a local preliminary Pro Tour qualifier. With over 2,000 game stores worldwide running PPTQs, find an event near you at magic.wizards.com/PPTQ.
Welcome back to the feature match area here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're here for Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik. That was a nice little game to kick things off. Lots of removal versus lots of threats. Ultimately, the removal prevailed, as it often does in Limited. Yeah. We've actually got a few updates to bring you as well. You can see our far right table there. The players are already gone. That's because Romulo Discanzi, well, he made short work of Andrew Ellenbogen, and they're both 7-1 coming in, and apparently Andrew had mana issues, and not just the first game, but also the second, so 2-0 for Romulo, so that one's done. Mark Jacobson, who's our other featured drafter, is up a game as well over Alejandro Olea Garcia from Spain. And that leaves that far back table, which is Wilson Mock versus Nathan Eager. And they're tied at 1 game apiece and about to head into game number 3. So they're dropping pretty quickly. I mean, we only got through 1 game on our main match, and we already had another match finished, another one going to game 3, and then the other one's already in game 2. So they are cruising.
Yeah.
Looks like we're just about ready to get rolling here in game number 2, though, on our main match.
Yeah, Jeremy wants to get going.
He does.
It's good. It's a good representative of the Boros Legion.
Indeed. And by the way, there it is again, the infamous 10th District Guard that we referred to a little earlier today. So, and it's getting in for first blood here. There's 18 Life now for Tay Jun Hao. And what's the follow-up? Well, notably no land, but he does have another 2-drop to play. Goblin Crater Maker.
I found it interesting that Jérémy decided to start with the guard rather than the Crater Maker, but it's because of the Wojak Bodyguard in Jérémy's hand. Jérémy would rather try to pump the 10th for disregard and have the Crater Maker for its ability a bit later down the line.
If he doesn't hit his land, he's just going to go ahead and offer a trade here. And Tay says, well, you could just kill this anyway if you wanted, so I may as well block it. And, oh, there's land number 3 and the Wojak Bodyguard. So the pressure very real here as far as the board state goes on Tay Jun Hao. A removal spell at this juncture on the Bodyguard would stem the bleeding quite nicely. If he doesn't have a way to interact, that's 6 damage coming across.
Yeah, but this turn with Spinal Centipede plus Hired Poisoner is going to be quite nice here.
Wow.
Able to trade with both creatures with ease.
Wow, very nice from Tay. And importantly, even if Jérémy were to remove one of them, the other could still trade off with the Bodyguard or, as you said, either creature.
Yeah. And, I mean, you could Luminous Bonds, Ivor creature. I'm trying to figure out which one would be better here, since you know that your opponent has Status Statue, but if they're never killing the enchantment on the other creature, almost. It might be a tiny bit of value, like for Undergrowth, so they may do it, but your creature's still dying in the process. So I guess here you technically want to bonds the Centipede, since it would it can swing back. It can take and decide not to block this turn and then use the counter later. So if you're going to play Luminous Bonds here, I would do it on Centipede. But there is this other option, which is just play Healer Hawk and pass.
But boy, that's a screeching halt to a train that does not want to be stopped, and Tay Jun Hao's going to get to breathe a sigh of relief that he's not under immense pressure here. A slight mana stumble from Dezani, though he seems to have recovered from it and developed his board reasonably, but no attacks on that last turn, and this is not what Boros wants to do.
Yeah, and Jeremy's like, okay, you're passing with 4 mana, I know what this is.
Yeah, he already saw Status Statue in the first game. There's 2 of them in the list for Tay.
Yeah, Jérémy drawing a lot of those 4 and 5 mana cards, but with freelance. I mean, this happens a lot in Limited. It's just the way the format's designed. So now Jérémy has to decide what to do here, knowing that Tay very likely has the Status Statue in hand. It's very, they know each other's lists. And with Tay passing the turn here with 4 mana up, it's going to be the card in the front of Jérémy's mind. It makes sense, right? There's 2 in the deck. It's Golgari usually taps out, so when they pass the turn with 4 mana, you're basically locked on that card. So Jérémy's going to play this turn knowing that Tay has this card. So we're going to see how Jérémy navigates against it and decides to pump the Bodyguard and the 10th District Guard, not wanting this Healer Hawk to die. In one of the weirdest scenarios, yes, so the idea for Jérémy here, I think, is knowing that the Bodyguard might die. This is actually kind of a weird line. I wonder if pumping the Hawk and the Bodyguard and the 10th District Guard is the line to go, but then most likely this Healer Hawk would be killed. So Jérémy decides not to boost up the Healer's Hawk, having access to Parhelion Patrol in hand. So I think that's Jérémy's plan. With Parhelion Patrol, Jérémy values this Healer's Hawk very highly. It's an evasive threat, and there are a few more ways in hand between Parhelion Patrol, Hammer Dropper, and Barging Sergeant to essentially boost that Hawk down the line. So Jérémy valuing the evasion very highly here. And that's why you don't see the Gird for Battle now, is Jérémy is planning to make this Hawk bigger, just not now.
Interesting. Seriously, like. Oh, and look at this. Get him sideways, say Tay Jun Hao. He's in.
And here, with not much pressure anymore, Golgari Fine Broker getting back District Guide makes sense. It gets you the land to go towards your Hatchery Spider.
Wow, that was a big swing right there. Tay Jun Hao previously are taking a more defensive stance, and all of a sudden he's turned the tide right back on Jérémy Dezani with a very big turn, using up 5 mana and getting a lot of value in the process as well. There's Parhelion Patrol, though, for Dezani, and that's a good friend of Healer's Hawk. Those two can pair up and make racing quite difficult.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And that was Jérémy's plan, right? It was to make this patrol and race with boosted up Healer's Hawk. Maybe having Barging Sergeant, putting that...
We always call it Bargent anyway.
The Bargent?
Yeah.
Yeah, but putting that, that third counter. And that was going to make the Healer's Hawk a threat. But with Tay having access in hand to that status statue, that plan is going to be canceled. And Tay is going to be able to put a lot of pressure very quickly. Tay has assembled a lot of power here. And yeah,
and that power's coming in the red zone.
Yeah, Jérémy deciding to trade the free for the free 2. I think Spinal Centipede is kind of this card that's very underrated. At some point you do have to trade for it, and when you do, it turns out to be this kind of little value creature that people always pass late, but it's actually a really fine card. And a key card, I think, in the Golgari archetype, allowing you to essentially choose between offense and defense while boosting the undergrowth potential of the deck. Free power is quite a bit when attacking, and it trades well too. Even against a 2-drop, you still get that +1/+1 counter, and you start the undergrowth train. So I kind of like Spinal Centipede. It's actually one of the better fielder creatures, I'd say, in the format. But yeah, here Tay is quite far ahead.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Tay Jun Hao. We've reached the middle to late stage of the game, and generally speaking, that is not where Boros shines. Now, Boros does have a lot of tools in this particular format to do well at that point, but honestly, Jérémy's deck doesn't feature very many of them. There's the Bargent.
Yeah, and Jérémy has already seen a status statue, so is making this attack in that consequence. But yeah, the patrol here, boosting the Healer's Hawk, makes me wonder about that last turn. I think the turn with Golgari Finebroker and the Poisoner was great, right? You're putting board presence, you're taking control of the board. But then this turn I was less sure about. I understand the desire to get to a Hatchery Spider, but then your status statue isn't going to be played for 2 turns. You have the land for the Spider, and then next turn, you can status statue if there's a Luminous Bounce. But this is a lot of flying pressure, and the Lifelink might give Jérémy time. And Tay is now down to 9. So I think last turn, Tay should have fired off that statue, and it gave Jérémy the ability to race, and I think that, with Severed Strands, I think we're going to keep the advantage bar right where it belongs.
Okay. Right back to business for Tay Jun Hao.
I believe here, the problem with the Spider is that Jérémy can easily Luminous Bonds. So then you have to accept that you might be taking 5 damage, and then you're not really... You have Severed Strands, though. So the line might still be to Hatchery Spider this turn, and accept that you might take, say, 5 damage here, but it won't be much more than that. It might be 2 more, say, Luminous Bonds plus Maniacal Rage. That would be 3 more, actually, with the Mentor. So it's quite close. Yeah, I think we are seeing the Severed Strands here for that reason.
Minimal.
Yeah.
Just the one, but still good enough to take the threat off the side of Jérémy Dezani and clear the way for yet another attack here for Tay Jun Hao. He's continuing to hit his land drops, and look at this, a Rhizome Lurcher with 3 counters. Boom, 5/5.
Yep.
That's a clock.
Yeah, Jérémy's going to drop the hammer, but the hammer is not that.
Yeah, he might drop the game in the process.
Yeah.
He is not quite facing lethal damage, though it's darn close, just 1 away.
Yeah, the Healer's Hawk... I mean, you can see the power of Healer's Hawk, right? Like, it didn't look like that life gain was going to be relevant, but it allows the Boros deck to get 1 more draw step, and that 1 draw step translates to damage on average. So that's the power of Healer's Hawk, right? Like, the incidental life gain may not look like much. That's why you see a lot of Boros players going to 25, 26 to start the game. And that might be an extra turn to draw a Direct Current, or if you have an Inescapable Blaze, or some removal to punch through the creatures, And... It's why it's been an important component of these Boros decks, but without the supporting cast and Tay dismantling Jérémy Dezani's creatures 1 by 1 is going to allow Tay to take... This isn't quite lethal. I believe we're free off. We're free off.
He's 3 off now, yeah, because of the hit with the Healer's Hawk.
The top deck Might of the Masses would finish the game up, but otherwise, yeah. No, oh, yeah, the infinite value train.
Another Finebroker?
Yeah.
You haven't really lived until you Finebroker for a Finebroker, am I right?
Unlimited.
Of course unlimited.
There's a constructed
deck that's just every day, yeah.
I mean, you can design your deck to do it.
Right. It's like not even fair.
That's why you like limited?
Yeah.
It's unfair?
Yeah, it's like higher degree of difficulty.
I mean, this draft was very scrappy. People have...
That's true.
Yeah, like Tay's deck, in considering how weak the packs were, is actually fairly strong. And Tay here, I actually like this attack. Tay understanding that this is still a 2-turn clock. But if Jérémy wants to trade for the Lurcher, then the option is there. And Tay can play the Hatchery Spider.
Yes.
And if Jérémy decides to not block, then Tay can decide to fire off the removal spell. So here we're going to just see most likely the Hatchery Spider. With Tay being at 8 life, a removal spell will not deal Tay too much damage here.
And once again, Hatchery Spider doing what Hatchery Spider does, which is whiff, but provide a very good blocker.
Reveal some cards.
Yes.
It's a 5/7 that looks cool.
Yeah.
Oh, there are 4 cards.
It was only 4, though, and that was a 5-drop. So, again.
So close.
You do what you got to do, Spider. But still, once it hits the battlefield, triggered ability aside, a 5/7 with reach is just massive and difficult to get through without. A removal spell like this one right here, Luminous Bonds. And Jérémy Dezani continuing to try to race. He's going to knock Tay down another couple of life and gain 2 back on his end. But it feels like it's too late for Dezani at this point.
Yeah, and with Tay having access to Status Statue to kill that Luminous Bonds potentially. Or the Hawk, you can choose. Like, we're going to see this go in short order. By the way, Tay putting free cards indicated that Tay did not believe that Dezani would block. Which was, I think, an interesting highlight. If you revealed free cards there, that was essentially without the Lurcher. So Tay was like, Dezani's not blocking here. So when he
kind of had it in his head already.
Right. So it shows you the mindset of the player, right? More than anything. But yeah, this, boom.
Oh, and what a beating. He gets a 2-for-1 here, not killing the Hawk, but instead killing the Luminous Bonds to block the Hawk. And he gets his creature back, kills his opponent's creature. And this was kind of the hammer blow that we were waiting for. And that, honestly, Tay was waiting for as well. He set this up over the long term, being very patient with that statue, finally fired it off to get maximum value. And I got to say, he did.
He did. The value was found.
Indeed. That is ruthless here for Tay Jun Hao, who says, you know what? I'm going to stay undefeated at the Pro Tour, and nobody's going to stand in his way, not even Jérémy Dezani, a PG champ himself.
Yeah, here, I mean, you could attack with all, but I kind of like the... Okay, we can actually do the combat math. There is math for attackers, too.
Is there?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just for blockers.
Well, this is like 12 attacks, so technically Jérémy could take it all and go to 2 and hope for the best. Unfortunately, the best is a very fine broker. I don't know if Tay had to attack with everything here. Since this isn't a lethal attack and doesn't force a block from Jérémy, I kind of would have liked to see say the Poisoner back and then go Fine Broker, Spinal Centipede, and know that nothing can happen to you. Because next turn you can just attack for lethal anyways. Yeah, I think, that would have been, I think, the attack. Just attack with the 5/7, one of the supporting cast members, and then get the Fine Broker plus whatever the largest thing is, which might be that Lurcher. I think, with the land, it's the Lurcher. So you Fine Broker, get back to this Lurcher, and and still 2 blockers, which is very good. It's just...
even Cosmotronic Wave wouldn't win it from here. And that's going to do it. Tay Jun Hao with an impressive 2-0 victory over Jérémy Dezani. And Tay, boy, oh boy, 9-0 at the Pro Tour. And Tay just needs to keep the wheels rolling here for the next few rounds and may find himself within view of a top 8 here in Atlanta. So a great run by Tay Jun Hao, and just needs to keep on rolling. We'll be keeping an eye on him, of course, as well as the other players. There's only one more feature match left in our feature match area, and that is our back table. That's Wilson Mock and Nathan Eager. I think we've been holding them. They actually got to Game 3 relatively quickly.
Yeah, and here I'm looking at the deck list. You're going to love this, Marshall. You're really going to love this.
What do you got for me? Give me something good.
2 Fire Mines Research.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man. I saw some of those in the feature match area yesterday, but it was the sideboard of a constructed deck. It was certainly not here. Wilson Mock, although, how sad he doesn't have one. 2 mana, no Fire Mines Research. Steam Vents too, but nothing doing. Well, he's going to make a radical idea happen here and Piston Fist Cyclops. So this is where I have to wonder if not drawing the Fire Mines Research is just better for him. way. I don't want to say it, but, you know, sometimes you go a little too deep, fly a little too close to the sun, and when a Piston Fist Cyclops would have been exactly what you needed anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you take the Piston Fist Cyclops anyways, but again, with the draft being so weak, well, maybe Wilson Mock went, you know what? I need anything I can get. Yeah. Nathan's deck has a lot of, I mean, there are some fillers like this Wario copy, but we also saw a camaraderie go into these cards. So, and you know, there's 2 Conclave Tribunal. So at least Nathan's deck is creatures and removal, which, you know, is a good limited formula.
That is time-tested indeed, and you can get the job done just with creatures removal combat tricks if you need to. Now, Wilson, on the other hand, took a much different...
There's a different approach.
He has left those fundamentals behind, it seems. But, you know, he could have a much more powerful deck as a result. It looks like his Izzet deck is skewed towards the aggressive. You see Sonic Assault, maximize altitude, maximize velocity. All of those are cards that are hallmarks of the more aggressive builds. And then the Piston Fist Cyclops tends to go in both versions, the control and the aggressive, but really shines here in the aggressive version as well. Is he going to start getting in?
This is kind of interesting. With the so Wilson could have gone something like Piston Fist Cyclops plus velocity, but with the Hunted Witness blocking, prefers to play the maximized altitude here, deal 5 damage, play a second Piston Fist Cyclops, and just go, you know what? I'm going to kill you with these gigantic Cyclop flyers.
Yeah, hey, that works very well. And this is how the damage tends to flow from this blue-red Izzet deck that Wilson has. Is it's big chunks. Like you take 5, then you'll take 8, and then you're almost dead, and one more big hit kills you.
Yeah, the concern with the velocity, I believe, here would be the first Cyclops would be fine. It could attack in, but then the second one would face Hunted Witness and the Wood Shaper. And at that point, you're not really happy making that trade. That's not a trade you want to make, so that's why you didn't see the maximize velocity that turn, I believe.
Looks like we're going to see perhaps a Rosemane Centaur. Yeah. So a big turn there for Nathan. I mean, he's developing his board out quite nicely here. He's got 2 blockers left, but a lot of creatures on the battlefield. He's up to 6 now. And this is kind of the classic go wide versus go tall type matchup here. And Wilson Mock is looking to be in a position where he can pile on a lot of damage.
Yeah, let's look at having a look at his hand. It's actually fairly... This is a really difficult position from Wilson Mock. Those life-linking creatures and that Hunted Witness, it might seem like the rest, right, is a problem, like the Peacemaker and the Rosemane Centaur, but really what matters are these life-linking creatures, because Wilson is essentially acting as a burn deck. That said, with Hypothesizzle, one line here is Wilson's figuring out, do I want to Hypothesizzle this Rosemane Centaur and attack? Do I want to pass with Sonic Assault? I kind of like the Hypothesizzle here to get more information, but Wilson might also have gone, I don't really want to attack into this board since I'll take free, since probably my opponent will block with Hunted Witness, which gives them another lifelinker, and then my damage is undone. So that would be why you see it. Nathan eagerly attacking with those 2 large Selesnya creatures. But I think we'll see Wilson here going for, decides to go for the Sonic Assault or the Whisper Agent here.
Yeah, Whisper Agent can trade off for the Centaur if he'd like. You mentioned you saw a camaraderie in that Sumala Woodshaper reveal, which is now somewhere near the bottom of his library.
Yeah, and Wilson knows about it and will be worried about it all game.
Boy, that would have been a good one here.
Yeah, and this is a interesting line. Wilson deciding to not fire off the Hypothesizzle on Rosemane Centaur, considering whether or not to have the Cyclops block the center or not.
Yeah, those Cyclopses are so important for damage output that it's really tough to trade them off on the ground. You can find yourself with a handful of maximize somethings and, you know, Sonic Assaults, but you're not actually pushing through damage. You're just treading water, and that's not a good long-term game plan. Ooh.
Yeah, Lava
Coil off the top. That's a good answer for that Rosemane Centaur, isn't it?
Yeah, I do wonder about that whole turn sequence. That was I would rewatch that personally. There was, I think, a lot to unpack. I think the line was relatively difficult to find there. I feel that Wilson Mock could have benefited from taking a breather there and really considering, because I saw an hesitation on what blocks to do. And I think when a line's that complicated, you should just think about everything first and then make the line, whatever it is. But yeah, that hesitation. But yeah, here the hypothesis is really nice, allowing Wilson to dig through the deck. But now that the creatures are all untapped, an attack is almost, it's not something that Wilson can really get into.
Seems bad.
But, so that means that we're probably going to stay back. But this Wario copy is, I mean, it's going to bring the business.
It definitely is. Nathan has found just enough 3-powered creatures to keep attacking. He knows that Wilson doesn't want to trade off.
Yeah.
And there it is, in the red zone.
Yes.
Says Nathan Eager. Boom.
By the way, I like that Wilson did play the Hypothesis on the main phase. It might have looked strange, but Wilson does know about the Bounty of Might in Nathan's deck and doesn't want to get blown out by it. So I really liked Wilson's play here of doing the Hypothesis right away. So that was a really nice line.
Another Hatchery Spider hits the battlefield here. This one for Nathan. We've seen this multiple times now in the feature match area. Let's see, how many do you have? 2. It's a tough sell, and poor Hatchery Spider, still 0 in the feature match area. Probably going to stay that way. But as we mentioned before when we were watching Tay Jun Hao, focus on the stats, right? A 5/7 reach. That is a huge creature that blocks up this board, even has attacks if he wants them, and can do a very good job of either stabilizing or even getting in for damage, even if it's proven nearly impossible to actually hit with its triggered ability.
Yeah, but yeah, just the 5/7 body is good. But it wouldn't be enough if it wasn't for the supporting cast, right? I love this Lava Coil on Wario copy. I think it's correct, but
I think that Wario copy is like, I did it. You know, I got in for 3.
I live my fullest life.
I did. I got in for 3 damage, and I earned one of the best removal spells in the format. I think that's about the best you could get from your Euro copy there.
But yeah, the Spider, because of the 2 Sonic Assaults in Wilson Mock's hand, is really going to be kept at bay. But what's really helping Nathan Eager here? Well, I have these life linkers, so you can't. It's not like you can attack really, and this is I think this is just a bad matchup for Wilson. It's not so much about card power. It's just Wilson essentially is playing kind of a combo burn deck, and Nathan Eager is playing a board centric. Semi-life gain deck. Like, even that center Peacemaker, you can see the effect here. I mean, Wilson has gained the life off it, but Nathan being at 13 and Wilson at 5 is a trade that maybe Wilson might take in the right circumstances with 2 Sonic Assaults and a maximized altitude and a maximized velocity.
He's got a lot of Sonic Assaults going on here. And yes, he can keep the other board at bay for quite a while, but with Eager at 17, he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, this is relatively okay.
Okay, flying.
Yeah.
5U.
Deciding to put in some damage, but
cancel that order.
Wow.
Crushing Canopy, the card that Nathan had just drawn. No target on the battlefield for it until, ta-da, maximize altitude. Sends that Cyclops to the sky, and
Nathan,
boom.
Yeah, Nathan saw the 2 maximized altitudes in Wilson's deck and went, I'm ready. And 2 Fire Mines research.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, best Crushing Canopy ever. And I love me a Crushing Canopy. That's Prey Upon off the top for Eager.
If that's Prey Upon, I mean, we're there's a Sonic Assault to buy time, but I don't see how Wilson can get out of this game. Essentially, the Sonic Assault does buy time, but
he's desperately going to search now with Radical Idea to find some way to interact, perhaps a bounce spell. He doesn't find it, though, and that's his whole entire board state in the bin.
And this is lethal damage, barring that assault again on the Spider.
Yeah, he must do that. Down to 15 for Eager, but he's going to get that 2 life back right away. 2, 3, 4, 5 damage as well, and Wilson Mock is on the ropes at 4 life. This one's looking fantastic for Nathan Eager. Needs something special off the top of the library. Does Wilson? I don't see how he can get out of this.
I think he has a card in the deck that is.
I don't think so either.
I mean, I think that's it. I don't see even a Beacon Bolt, which might have enough sorceries and instants to kill the Spider, wouldn't be enough, and that would be, I believe, the best draw. A Crackling Drake with maximized velocity could recall our standard matchups, but I don't think, unfortunately, that a Drake would be enough. I mean, we're talking about 17 life.
17, still a lot.
Actually, a Drake with the exact right draws would have been like Wilson's only out. But I don't think here that Wilson really can get out of this situation. Nathan basically with the crushing canopy plus prey upon 1-2 punch, getting the Cyclops out of the way, that's probably enough.
Yeah, I think his hand is Watcher in the Mist, and if that's the case, we're done here. He's going to have to discard it to the Sonic Assault just to keep the Spider back.
Yeah, but this is...
Then he's going to have to block.
You're losing more and more resources.
In fact, he's going to have to trade off for the Sumala Wood Shaper.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No value found here.
He can survive a turn, but I don't think there's any outs left for Wilson here.
Yeah, this isn't Legacy. You can't draw something like Time Spiral.
Right. There's no big swinging plays to come back. He draws Fire Mind's Research, stares at it for a second, and extends the hand. And that is Nathan Eager improving to 8-1 here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. Thanks so much for joining us for live coverage. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik. That was round number 1 of the day. Round number 9 of the tournament. We're in the booster draft portion here in the morning, as we like to do at the Pro Tour, and we'll be doing 2 more rounds of booster draft as well before transitioning back into this exciting and diverse standard format that we have on our hands to ride us for the rest of the day, all the way up until the top 8. So some exciting moments already early in the morning. You know, I know you're probably just waking up, but it's like, come on, go. We got
the green decks are winning.
Yes.
They're finally taking over.
Yeah, all the spiders. You know, they may not hit any cards, but they hit their opponent pretty hard, or at least defend your life total. So
they eat the Healer's Hawk for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
They do indeed. Coming down perhaps a little later in the game than the old Healer's Hawk. But yeah, good stuff from the feature match area for this round, and we're going to be keeping an eye, of course, on the top players and the top headlines as we work our way through the booster draft here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, though, we'll be right back down in the feature match area pretty quickly. We'll be watching round number 2 of the draft. Don't you go anywhere.